kickoff as they get the SRC wheeled in. We get a nice close-up view of the SRC here. You can really see how charred it is from that entry into Earth's atmosphere. That is the back shield that you're seeing of the SRC, and the top part there has been sealed off. That is actually where the parachute was deployed from. You can see there's that yellowish orange seal that was placed on top there where the parachute disconnected from the SRC. A brief team huddle here as they walk through the next step of the operation, making sure everyone is on the same page here as they will lift up the SRC ever so slightly, and the team has these brush tools. You can see one of our curators carrying one in her right hand there. They'll lift up the SRC and she's going to scrape off any dirt from the Utah desert that was on the bottom. That will actually then be certainly of interest to the curation team as they begin to analyze the sample we got back. You can see they're giving it a little brush. Very charred surface of that SRC. That metallic portion below is the heat shield, which protected our sample on its journey through Earth's atmosphere to the Utah Test and Training Range. And you'll see a lift of that SRC for team members to access underneath, checking for any dirt. It doesn't look like we really had any develop. And this is actually great because what happened was, since the soil was so damp today, we had a little bit of moisture. It was actually a much softer landing, so not as much dust really caked on that SRC. It landed perfectly on the surface of the Utah desert. They're going to place this back down again. Seems like their operations are going perfectly according to plan here. They'll do another lift on the other side just so they can access where the team members were previously holding. And then if all looks good, they will clear this to be wheeled into the clean room. And really just backing up and thinking about this entire journey from where we started this morning. Right before, maybe about 4 hours before we kicked off our broadcast, the team at Lockheed Martin gave the go to release the SRC that you see right here from the main OSIRIS-REx spacecraft. It detached from that spacecraft on its 4-hour solo journey. There's nothing we could do at that point as it entered into Earth's atmosphere, began the punishing entry, descent, and landing, which took us to the Utah Test and Training Range. Out in the field, teams worked to recover the sample, and they actually continued to take samples, environmental and air samples of the region around where we landed. We successfully bagged the sample return capsule in thermal blanketing. You see right there beneath the SRC, that plastic-looking material. We transported it successfully with our long line operations. Big thanks to our helicopter crew today for helping us get this sample return capsule to the clean room. A couple more lifts here you see, and they're going to remove that last layer of thermal blanketing, placing the SRC on its own without any layering onto our carrying fixture. You can see just how charred up those gloves look. A lot of that char from the heat shield getting off on their gloves. You can just see how dark it is. Really heating up. Initially, when we hit the Earth's atmosphere, we were at over 5,000 degrees Fahrenheit. That's about half as hot as the surface of the sun. Quite warm. It's cooled off substantially, so obviously, as it's been transported throughout the day here, and is now just moments away from getting transported into our NASA clean room that you can see on the right of your screen. Team members are all gowned up, and inside that clean room there is a fixture dead center that this SRC will be placed on that will allow the team to be able to gather around and begin to open up this nesting doll protective layer, the SRC, to access our precious cargo, that sample canister within. Again, they want to make sure that everything is clear before they wheel this in. Everyone's ready to go. Everything looks good before they wheel that sample return capsule into our clean room. Just truly an incredible day, and the science that's within these samples is truly hard to fathom right now, just how influential this science is going to be. Keep in mind, these samples are from the origins of the solar system, billions of years ago. They hold the clues to how everything around us came to be. And in just a few short weeks, scientists will begin to analyze these samples and stow away even more sample for generations to come. Future scientists will be able to open these samples and continue the journey of OSIRIS-REx. As we speak, this incredible mission still has not come to an end. Our spacecraft, our intrepid robotic explorer OSIRIS-REx, is now dubbed OSIRIS-APEX, heading to the asteroid Apophis in the year 2029. Obviously, we do not have that sample return capsule or the sample tag SAM, which actually helped us collect that air filter looking thing that helped us collect the samples at the surface of Bennu. That is no longer attached because it's sitting right here in our clean room. But the mission will continue. The team will map the asteroid Apophis in great detail, similar to what we did with Bennu, descending down to the surface, firing its thrusters, kicking up a sample. And as we speak, the sample that it got from Bennu back in 2020 is just moments away from being wheeled into the clean room. The team doing one more sweep, cleaning off those wheels that came in contact with the pavement outside, just before getting this SRC wheeled over into the clean room. Just truly an incredible journey of this mission. 3.86 billion miles total to Bennu and back with this sample. And now it's just a few feet away from our clean room. You can see on your screen too some of the gas coverings too, those vent covers that were placed out in the field that prevented any kind of contaminants from getting into the SRC. And as I mentioned before, that SRC is a nesting doll of sorts, very protective, and within there's a complex network of tubing, labyrinth-like tubing, preventing any kind of contaminants from getting into the sample. But the team still wants to get that sample canister on a nitrogen purge. That will ensure that it will stay clean, pristine from any possible atmospheric contamination. It's going to stay on that nitrogen purge all the way through its trip down to Johnson Space Center, where ultimately it will be opened at their curation facility. You can see in the bottom left of your screen our team members inside the clean room all gowned up, and right at the bottom there, that kind of goldish bronze looking fixture is where this SRC is going to be placed for the next step of the operations. This, as everything has been, is a very careful process, choreographed every step of the way. Team wants to ensure that everything is cleared before they wheel that in. We are just moments away from that wheel of the SRC into our portable clean room. You can see in the background in the pink shirt, Jason Dworkin observing. He is one of our astrobiologists from NASA Goddard. He will be looking at these samples along with hundreds of scientists from around the world, helping us better understand the origins of our solar system. The anticipation builds for this final moment. A massive sigh of relief at this part of the way because we have that SRC now not only on the ground but just inches away from our clean room. The team looking inside there just to ensure everything is good to go. Get a great shot of that NASA meatball and the OSIRIS-REx logo on the doors of the clean room. The operations at Johnson Space Center, once this sample canister is transported there, will be truly a sight to behold as well. In just a few days, we're actually going to get our first science results from the sample within. And as I mentioned, they built a custom clean room at the Johnson Space Center for this very purpose. The team that you see on screen here has been rehearsing at that clean room, preparing for the big event of actually getting that sample opened up and beginning to parse it out and ship it to labs around the world, stowing a lot of it for future generations. Truly an incredible amount of science that we can't even begin to imagine is trapped within those rocks. And I personally am very excited to see exactly how much sample we got back. The original mission requirement was a mere 60 grams. We had an explosive tag event at Asteroid Bennu back in 2020, excavating over 6 tons of material when we contacted the surface and stowed potentially 250 grams of sample within that tag SAM device, that air filter that Jim was just showing a few moments ago. There are also no radio frequency signals allowed inside the building that you see here too. The building is on ordnance protocol. They want to make sure that everyone is safe here, that there could still be active ordinances from the parachute deployment with the OSIRIS-REx spacecraft. We had a mortar fire to release that parachute, that orange parachute that took us the last stage of our journey to the surface of the Utah Test and Training Range. Crew members pacing around inside that clean room, waiting to get that SRC inside. And so when they actually open up the SRC, removing that back shell, the sample canister, they will attach a couple tripod-looking legs to it, these small legs that will allow them to flip it over onto a table nearby. They can see that metal table in the back of the clean room. And at that point, they're going to put it on a nitrogen purge. You can see they're moving that fixture a little bit closer to the door because they're just going to lift that SRC off of the carrying fixture and place it onto the clean room's fixture. So quick little transfer, very quick opening of the doors. In just a second here, you can see our team members moving that a little bit closer. The doors are now open. We are entering into the clean room, and that SRC is about to be moved off onto our clean room fixture. Our clean room team members carrying that SRC in, and these doors will be slammed shut just as soon as we can get that SRC fixture out, and there we go. It is in the clean room. The SRC from the desert of Utah, earlier this morning arriving, has been successfully delivered to the Dugway Portable Clean Room. And you can just see just how charred that SRC back shell and heat shield are. A great close-up angle here. You can really see our prized sample return capsule at long last in the clean room. It's hard to fathom that just a couple years ago, this sample return capsule that you see here was over 200 million miles away from us on the other side of the solar system. The OSIRIS-REx spacecraft worked to quickly stow the sample it got from the asteroid Bennu at sample site Nightingale into this sample return capsule. We slammed that lid shut and prepared it for the long journey back. It took 1.2 billion miles to get from the asteroid Bennu after sample collection to Earth's atmosphere. We entered in 82 miles off the surface of San Francisco, went through the punishing entry, descent, and landing, landed in the desert, and now here we have it, the sample return capsule in our clean room. The team's going to move this a little bit over to the center of the room so that they can all gather around and begin the process of removing that back shell and then ultimately getting the heat shield off as well. So what's going to come up next here is that back shell that you see there. The team will remove that, get the sample canister that is within. It's a complex network of tubing to get to that sample canister, and this is also, like I mentioned, a nesting doll of sorts protecting our sample within. They're going to get that sample canister out. They're going to get it on a nitrogen purge. That is our safe point. That is what we're looking to get to today. As soon as we're there, operations for the day will effectively be completed. Tomorrow, the SRC, the sample canister rather, will be flown on our C-17 cargo plane down to the Johnson Space Center, where in just a few days it will actually be opened up for scientists to be able to see the sample within. It's been incredible covering the moments of today, the journey of our SRC from Bennu to the desert of Utah to our clean room. And for now, back to you, Lauren and Jim.
James, your coverage has been impeccable. We could not have done it without you.
Go, James.
So to be clear, the newly redesigned Apex mission will not be touching down on its destination asteroid Apophis. The big reason for that, of course, is that the vehicle's single-use sample collection device just arrived here on Earth, containing samples of asteroid Bennu. After more than hundreds of millions of miles in space, that sample will now travel a few hundred more miles to a specially prepared home where experts intend not only to study it, but also preserve it for future generations. That facility is the purview of our next guest. Eileen Stansberry is the chief of the